the maid who became a star. Richard, you need to stop being alone. Come out on a date. We found someone beautiful. Do I look all right? For a date? You look stunningly handsome, Mr. Blackwood. You deserve to enjoy life a little. Why not let the maid try? Ariana, she's always watching the rehearsals. It might be funny. Presenting the final look of the evening. Fluent, warm, commanding, she threw in a bit of humor, and the crowd burst into laughter.
Love had never crossed his mind, ever since his wife passed away 7 years ago. Richard Blackwood was a tall, strikingly handsome white gentleman, barely 35, but his eyes held the weariness of someone who had walked through fire and rain. He was a man of prestige, wealth, and sorrow. A widower, a father, a businessman. He owned one of the most celebrated fashion houses in the country, selling only designer pieces, elegant gowns, statement suits. His name was stitched in gold on the walls of fashion. Before we dive into the story, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are watching from. Now, let's go. But behind the fame, behind the empire, was a quiet ache. His heart still mourned his late wife, and all his joy lived in just one person, his 6-year-old daughter, Ivy. But there was someone else, someone who made the lonely halls of that mansion feel warm again. Her name was Ariana, a beautiful, humble African maid, in her early 20s. Soft-spoken, graceful, and intelligent beyond measure. Though she wore aprons by day and cleaned silverware at dawn, Ariana's heart beat with passion for fashion design. She studied at night, saving every dollar to pay her tuition, sketching dresses on napkins and sewing fabric scraps in her tiny apartment. But she loved working in the Blackwood household, not for the money, but for the access to her dreams. Models often came in to try on sample gowns. Designers left behind scraps of knowledge and unguarded conversations. And sometimes, just sometimes, she would help sew the actual dresses behind the scenes. Her hands were magic. But there was more than just fabric and thread tying her to this house. Little Ivy adored Ariana. To Ivy, Ariana wasn't the maid. She was the mother she never had. Her comforter when she cried. Her storyteller at night. When Ariana had her day off, Ivy would wait by the window like a little cat waiting for the sun to return. Even Mr. Blackwood had grown used to her. Her calm presence, her insight, her dedication. She didn't just keep his house clean. She kept his world in balance. Father and daughter would both impatiently wait for Ariana to return after her days off. One evening, Mr. Blackwood received a call. "Richard," a friend said, "you need to stop being alone. Come out on a date. We've found someone. She's beautiful and comes from a very powerful family." They arranged a blind date. That evening, Mr. Blackwood came down the stairs wearing a fine black designer suit. Nervous like a schoolboy. But before he could leave, he called out, "Ariana." She stepped into the room, wiping her hands. "Yes, sir? Do I look all right for a date?" She paused. Her smile was soft, almost bittersweet. "You look stunningly handsome, Mr. Blackwood. You deserve to enjoy life a little. You've worked hard, for your daughter. For everyone." As she stepped forward to fix his tie, something changed. His breath caught. He froze. The scent of her, the touch of her fingers, the warmth in her eyes. She wasn't just the maid. She was a woman. A beautiful woman. He dashed outside the moment she finished. He needed air. "What am I thinking?" he whispered to himself. But the date went on. And soon, Emma came into their lives. She was elegant, tall, and carried herself with entitlement. Her father was a senator. She had never lifted a finger in her life. To Mr. Blackwood, she represented security, stability, power, but Emma saw Ariana and instantly hated her. How could a maid be so beautiful? Why did Ivy cry when she left? Why did Mr. Blackwood look at her like that? She may not have said it aloud, but in her heart, she wanted Ariana gone. She began to find faults. "This house isn't clean. Why is she helping the designers? She should be scrubbing the floors. Do this in 15 minutes. Why are you still here? Oriana, confused and hurt, approached her one day. Have I done something to offend you? Emma smiled coldly. No. You just make things confusing. What she meant was, your very existence threatens everything I want. Then came the night of the Grand Fashion Gala. A globally streamed runway show. Designers, celebrities, press, all in attendance. But just hours before the show, disaster struck. The African model scheduled to wear the finale piece, a one-of-a-kind vintage meets modern ball gown, backed out without warning. Everyone panicked. And Emma, with a fake smile, said, "Why not let the maid try? Oriana. She's always watching the rehearsals. It might be funny." The designers laughed. Like an American Idol audition gone wrong, they joked. Mr. Blackwood hesitated. He didn't want to humiliate her. "Oriana, it's okay if you say no," he said softly. But Oriana, standing tall, said, "I'll do it. Just give me the script for the speech, even the French part." He blinked. She was serious. Mr. Blackwood did not know that Oriana had studied French in high school, hence the confidence. He sent her to be cleaned up and styled like the other models. But something unexpected happened. The lead designer whispered to the stylist, "Let her wear the finale gown. The ball gown. The crown jewel of the entire show." As Oriana walked backstage to the dressing area, heads turned. Whispers flew like wildfire. Why is being allowed to wear ball gown, the crown jewel of the show? She's a maid. Presenting the final look of the evening. The announcer's voice echoed. Suddenly, the lights exploded in brilliance, and out stepped, not the expected model, but Oriana. Gasps swept the room. The grand ballroom was packed. Celebrities, influencers, designers, critics, they all whispered among themselves as they waited for the final dress. And then, a single spotlight flickered on, slicing through the darkness. The announcer's voice echoed. There she stood, like something out of a Bridgerton dream. Her hair was swept up in an elegant updo, soft curls framing her face like royalty. The royal blue ball gown she wore shimmered with every step, bulky in the way of vintage nobility, but tailored with modern grace. The gown hugged her waist and billowed behind her like a cloud of satin waves. Every thread, every bead, perfection. She didn't walk. She waltzed. Each step was measured, slow, deliberate, like a queen returning to her throne. Her face, sharp and regal, held no trace of fear. She exuded power, elegance, authority. And the crowd? They were stunned. Mr. Blackwood's friends stood and clapped. Awesome! Who is she? Beautiful. Just beautiful. Ivy, seated beside her father, screamed with joy, snapping photo after photo. What was meant to humiliate Oriana had now elevated her beyond imagination. But she wasn't done. At the end of the runway, she turned gracefully, smiled at the crowd, and took the microphone. And then, she spoke. A speech was required to thank the guests. But what came out of Oriana's mouth wasn't just words, it was a masterclass in grace. Fluent, warm, commanding. She spoke with the ease of a seasoned public speaker. She threw in a bit of humor, and the crowd burst into laughter. Then came the French portion. Not only did she speak it fluently, she tweaked her accent, capturing the very rhythm and melody of native French speakers. The room was enchanted. Mr. Blackwood sat in awe. "This is my maid," he whispered to himself. Emma, watching from the VIP section, clenched her fists. Her world crumbled. Even her friends were whispering, "She's amazing. Isn't she the maid? She should be on more runways." Emma could barely breathe. Jealousy had poisoned her joy. That same night, offers flooded in. Agencies wanted Oriana. TV networks called. Social media exploded. She was the story of the year. Maid turned model wows the world. Cinderella in a ball gown. Backstage, Ivy ran to her and hugged her tightly. "You're the most beautiful woman I know," she said aloud. Emma, standing nearby, paled. That was her last straw. She turned away, bitter. "It's either me or the maid," she muttered to herself. Richard must choose. 4 months passed. Mr. Blackwood continued to date Emma, but the flame never caught. She was beautiful, yes. But she didn't make him laugh. She didn't bring peace. She didn't fit. Then, one day, Emma burst into his office. "Enough," she snapped. "Choose. Me or the maid. Only one of us can stay in your life." Richard paused. He looked out the window. There, in the garden, Oriana was sitting on the grass with Ivy, braiding her hair. Both were laughing. He took a deep breath. "You've never liked Oriana," he said. "I've watched you try to break her spirit every day. At first, I thought that's just how girlfriends behave. But now I know, you're just insecure." Emma's mouth dropped open. "You want to marry the maid?" "Yes," he said boldly. "I should have done that a long time ago. I need someone strong, confident, not threatened by a woman in a dress. I choose Oriana." Emma scoffed, her voice trembling with fury. "You'll regret this." And she stormed out. Outside, Richard walked to Oriana and Ivy. Without a word, he hugged them both, and kissed Oriana on the forehead. She blinked. "Why did you do that?" she whispered to herself. "Let's go home," he said gently. "You two are the only family I need." That night, something shifted. He began to notice her more. The scent of her perfume, the way she looked at him, the way she laughed without holding back. She made him feel alive again. Days later, he invited her to sit with him. They had tea in the rose garden. "Tell me," he said, "what are your plans after university?" Oriana smiled. "I'll look for a job. Maybe design for another house." He hesitated, then finally said, "I've been holding this in, but I love you. I'm not sure when it started. But I can't stop thinking about you. Will you marry me?" She laughed nervously. "Whoa. Hold your horses." Then, softer, "I like you too. You know I do. But we are from different worlds. What will your friends say? Your family?" He looked her in the eyes. "I don't care what people say. I'm an adult. I only care about you." She nodded. "Then let's take it slow. Let's date. No secrets. No cheating. Just us." He smiled. "Deal." When they told Ivy, she jumped for joy. "Mom. I mean, Oriana. You're my mom now." 6 months later, they were married. A small wedding. Intimate. Beautiful. And soon after, they had a son. Richard Jr. Oriana, now a beloved wife, mother, model, and fashion designer, became one of the most sought-after creatives in the country. But she never stopped managing her husband's fashion empire, the house that gave her a chance to dream. She stayed grounded. She stayed kind. And most of all, she stayed true to herself.